Hi Alejandra, hi Miguel, and welcome to your Wednesday lesson for CAE. Okay, so this is your, as I say, as we already have discussed, we have postponed it by a day, so I'm just explaining what you would be doing in this lesson. So the focus in this lesson is on pages 79, 80, 81, and 160. So what I would need you to do first is to complete the review on page 79. So that completes activity 1, 2, and 3. Complete it. Give yourself about 15-20 minutes to complete this, and then pause the video, and then when you're finished, you start, and then I go through into the whole details of the lesson. Okay? Alright, so hope you're both very well, and I hope you're keeping well and healthy given the circumstances. Okay, so hope everything is well with you. Now today, what we are going to be looking at, there are two things we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at sentence completion, which is part of the listening test. Now, unfortunately, I do not have the audio for this, but there is a way you can do this. Instead of doing it as a listening, you could do it as a reading. So you can look at, I want you to focus on exercises 1 and write your responses for for and against tour guides, and then also complete the sentence completion activity, which I think is activity 3, and the audio should be the audio script, which is the description. It should be at the back of the book. Give yourself 5 minutes, so 5-6 minutes to complete that. Any vocabulary you do not understand, hold on to it and we can discuss it during our Skype lesson, okay? So give me 5 or 6 minutes to do that now. All right, now I'm on to the more important part of this lesson. Now, although this video is going to be quite short, I'm outlining what you have to do, and then when we're talking on either Monday or Wednesday over Skype, we can actually have a good discussion about this. Now, let's look at page 8. I want you to turn to your books to page 160, and we're going to look at reported speech, okay? Now, reported speech is probably one of the more complicated forms of grammar in English, okay? Literally, it's easy for me to say going from first person to third person, but the thing is, it's going from your own personal everyday language to going to someone like a reporter. So you have to think like a journalist, okay, when you're talking in reported speech. So when you're on page 160, I want you to have a look at this very carefully. So 1.1. If the report is after the time, changes in reported speech. So if the report is after the time the thing was said or written, the verb changes as follows. So for example, if you look at the table, present simple continuous, direct speech, what you would say normally, I haven't got time to finish the report now, said Jack. But if you reverse that into reported speech, it would become past simple or continuous. So you say, Jack said he didn't have time to finish the report immediately. So you're changing tense, and also as a result, you go from direct to reported speech. But you can also say, Jack said that he didn't have time to finish the report immediately. So it becomes past simple or continuous. This also applies to other forms as well. So if direct speech, say past simple or continuous, if you're using it in reported speech, it's past simple or continuous, or past perfect simple or continuous. Present perfect simple or continuous becomes past perfect simple and continuous, so on, will or would. Another interesting one, which I'll use another example, like we use must for an obligation, we would use had to in reported speech. So for example, in direct speech with must, we would say, you must have a permit, he said. You must have a permit, he said. Please excuse my British accent, it's probably not the best. But then when you go to had to, he would say, he said that we had to have a permit. So it's like literally also as well with certain sentences going like this, you're literally flipping sentences as well around, and also and repositioning words and verbs as well when and if it's needed. And also can becomes could. So can in direct speech becomes could in reported speech. However, you need to remember that the verb itself does not need to change in the following for the following reasons. So 1, if the information being reported is unchanged, then you don't need to change the verb. You don't need to change the actual verb itself. And also when information being reported has happened recently, there's no unnecessary changes need to be done. Also as well, when it contains the modals like would, could, might, ought to, and should, must for logical deduction, that is another way of looking at it as well. That's another way of respecting yourself on how the verb doesn't change there as well. And also information being reported contains the past perfect. You do not change the verb in this point. So that kind of information will be on page 160. You need to remember that other examples that change in reported speech are, so like for example, if you say in direct speech tomorrow, in reported speech you say the next day, the day after, the following day. So you can see the difference there. Other examples could, like last week, you can say the week before, the previous week. Here becomes there. So if you say here in direct speech, it's there in reported speech. Or this morning in direct speech becomes that morning. So there's a lot of differences there. And so for example, next Friday becomes the following Friday or the Friday after, or 2 hours ago becomes 2 hours before or 2 hours earlier. You'll notice it in all the different forms in the table. And for both of you, you should be familiar with this from doing birth certificate as well with myself. Okay, so you should be familiar with this at any point. And if you aren't sure, do not hesitate to ask me questions during the Skype session or by email. Okay, so one of the last things I'm going to look at before I go into final activities and what you need to do. Reported questions. So with reported questions, especially with typical yes or no questions, if there's no question word in the direct speech, we would tend to use if or whether. Okay, so if there's no question mark in the direct speech, you use if or whether. All right. If the word order is same as this, we use yes or no questions when the word order is the same as the statement and when the verb tense and other changes are the same as in other areas of reported speech. However, with WH questions, with W questions, the WH word or W word is usually followed by a subject or a verb, but it also has similar principles to that, the yes or no questions. Okay, so all in all, what you need to do after you've completed the grammar reference activity on page 160/161, when you are finished, I want you to turn your books back and complete the following activities. Activity 5, 7, 8, and 9. I want you to complete them, and then you either, as before, take a photo or type your answers. You can even type them in the email and then send them to me. I'll check them, give you your feedback. I can even give you feedback during the Skype session as well. Okay, so complete the activities in your own time. And on next week, when we're talking to Skype, we're going to be focusing on exam technique, general exam technique for the different parts of the advanced exam. Okay, so I hope you both have a very good weekend, and I hope you're staying safe, you're happy and safe, and also stay healthy as well. Okay, have a good weekend. See you soon. Any questions, let me know by email. All right, bye everybody. Bye.